The night the storm began, everyone in the city was running toward warmth, shelter, and expensive apartments, but one man was sitting alone on a cold pavement, soaked from head to toe, watching the world pass him by as if he no longer existed. Cars rushed past him. People looked away. Some complained that he was blocking the sidewalk. Others simply stepped around him. But then a beautiful woman stopped her car, looked directly into his tired eyes, and made a decision that would change both of their lives forever. She had no idea that the broken-looking stranger in front of her was hiding a secret worth billions. Before we continue, if you believe that kindness can give someone a second chance, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Sometimes, one small act of kindness can become the beginning of an entirely different life. Her name was Amelia Carter, a successful woman in her early 30s who lived in one of the wealthiest neighborhoods in the city. She had a beautiful home, a comfortable career, and everything most people would consider a successful life. Yet behind the elegant clothes and confident smile was a woman who had learned that money could buy comfort but could never guarantee happiness. Amelia had lost her mother several years earlier, and since then, she had become strangely sensitive to people who were suffering alone. She often donated to shelters and quietly paid for meals, but she had never imagined that one ordinary evening would bring a stranger directly into her life. That evening, Amelia was driving home when heavy rain suddenly began falling. The streets became nearly empty, and the golden lights of the buildings reflected across the wet pavement. As she waited at a traffic signal, she noticed an elderly street vendor packing his belongings desperately to escape the rain. A little farther ahead, beneath the weak shelter of a closed shop, sat a man who appeared to be homeless. His clothes were torn and muddy, his shoes were badly worn, and his face looked exhausted. He was holding a small cardboard sign, but the rain had soaked it so badly that the words were almost impossible to read. The light turned green, but Amelia didn't move. Something about the man's expression stopped her. He wasn't shouting for money. He wasn't chasing anyone. He simply sat there with his head lowered, looking as though he had already accepted that nobody would notice him. Amelia parked her car nearby, grabbed an umbrella, and walked toward him. She offered him food from a small bag she had purchased earlier, but the man hesitated before accepting it. His hands were trembling slightly. Amelia noticed that he was freezing. She looked around at the deserted street and realized there was nowhere nearby where he could safely spend the night. Against every practical thought in her mind, she made an extraordinary decision. She asked him to come with her. The man stared at her in disbelief, almost as if he couldn't understand why someone would offer kindness without asking for something in return. Amelia took him home. Her decision shocked the people around her. Her housekeeper immediately became uncomfortable, and a few neighbors noticed the strange guest entering the expensive property. Amelia ignored their judgment. She gave the man clean clothes, warm food, and a place to sleep. She never asked him about his past because she believed that a person didn't need to prove their worth before deserving basic dignity. The man's name was Daniel. At first, Daniel barely spoke. He thanked Amelia quietly and kept his eyes lowered whenever she entered the room. But Amelia began noticing small things about him that didn't fit the image of a homeless man. He knew how to use complicated words without trying to sound educated. He understood business news on television better than most people she knew. One morning, he casually pointed out a serious financial mistake in a newspaper article, explaining exactly why a particular company was likely to lose millions. Amelia was surprised. Daniel quickly dismissed it as something he had learned a long time ago. But there were other clues. When Amelia accidentally left a business document on the dining table, Daniel glanced at it and immediately recognized a complicated investment structure. He explained one small detail that even Amelia's financial advisor had overlooked. She began wondering who this mysterious man really was. Meanwhile, Amelia's wealthy friends were becoming increasingly suspicious. One of them warned her that Daniel could be dangerous and that she was being foolish by trusting a stranger. Another suggested that he might be pretending to be helpless simply to take advantage of her generosity. Amelia listened quietly but refused to throw him out. She remembered something her mother had once told her: a person's circumstances can change in a single day, but their humanity should never depend on their bank balance. Days passed. Daniel slowly regained his strength. He helped around the house without being asked. He repaired a broken garden light, fixed an old cabinet, and even helped Amelia organize several confusing business papers. Yet he continued behaving as though he was afraid that the kindness would suddenly disappear. One evening, Amelia returned home earlier than expected and found Daniel standing alone in her study. On the desk was an old photograph of Amelia's mother. Daniel was staring at it with an expression of deep shock. Amelia froze. Daniel slowly turned around. For the first time since she had met him, the sadness disappeared from his face and was replaced by something Amelia couldn't understand: fear. He looked at the photograph again and whispered that he had known her mother. Amelia's heart began pounding. She demanded to know how. Daniel remained silent for several seconds. Then he walked toward the window and stared out at the city lights. His hands were shaking. He finally told Amelia that years ago, before he became homeless, he had been one of the most powerful businessmen in the country. His company had once employed thousands of people, and his name had appeared on magazine covers around the world. Amelia stared at him, unable to believe what she was hearing. Then Daniel revealed the part of the story that made her blood run cold. He hadn't become homeless because he had lost everything. He had chosen to disappear. Someone had betrayed him, stolen billions from his company, and tried to make the world believe that he was dead. And the person who had helped him escape years ago was Amelia's mother. Before Amelia could ask another question, a black luxury car suddenly stopped outside her house. Two men stepped out. Daniel looked through the window and immediately recognized them. His face turned pale. He quietly told Amelia that they had finally found him. The woman who had rescued a stranger from the rain suddenly realized that the homeless man she had brought into her home wasn't running from poverty. He was running from people who would do anything to keep his secret buried. And now, because Amelia had opened her door to him, they knew exactly where to find him. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe, because sometimes the person who looks like they have nothing may be carrying a story worth more than all the money in the world. Before the ending, comment: kindness changes lives, if you believe everyone deserves compassion, regardless of their circumstances. And remember, Amelia didn't know Daniel's wealth when she helped him. She only saw a human being standing alone in the rain. That was the difference between her and everyone else who had walked past him. Sometimes, kindness doesn't come with a reward. Sometimes, kindness itself becomes the greatest reward of all.